If you're watching this video, you're probably in the same position I was 3 years ago. I wanted to become a UX designer, but I was overwhelmed with the amount of information out there and I just did not know where to start. There's no secret that the design industry is very competitive, AI is a big talking point, and tech in general is changing. But I want to share with you some things that I learned along the way, things I wish I had known going into it, and just some advice that helped me along the way. This brings us to our first crucial piece of advice: don't wait, just start. UX is constantly evolving. The sooner that you get into it, the sooner you'll be able to evolve with the industry. I've seen firsthand how stepping in early can really open up some incredible opportunities and really help you get ahead of the competition. Don't let analysis paralysis stop you. Make the decision and just start. Before you take that leap though, you're probably wondering, what should I do to get ready? That's a solid question that you should be asking. There are a few key steps to kind of get you started. First being familiarizing yourself with what UX is and what UX has to offer. Honestly, one of the best ways to just throw yourself in is to familiarize yourself with Figma. Figma is the most important tool as a designer. I know it feels like we're probably skipping a few steps, but I think it's really important for you to get a feel of things before you dive in. Figma is a great place to start because it's so intuitive, so user-friendly. As a designer, we use Figma to build out our designs, our loose sketches turn into digital in Figma. We prototype our designs, collaborate with other designers as well using Figma. It's the most popular and the most widely used design tool in the industry. But how do you even start using Figma? I know that sounds pretty daunting, but like I mentioned before, Figma is very user-friendly, especially for beginners. They've done a really good job of designing it in a way that you don't need any prior knowledge to just jump right in. The first step really is just to open it up and start playing around with things. Try moving things around, drawing shapes, messing with the different navigation items on the menus. Really just do anything. It's almost like you're playing in like Microsoft Paint or something, but just get in there and just start playing around with it and you'll realize it is pretty easy to pick up. As you get more comfortable, then you can move into following some online tutorials. There's a lot of great videos, a lot of great guides that walk you through basic projects. The hands-on approach is a great way to learn because you're not just watching somebody doing it, you're doing it alongside them. As you practice more in Figma and grow more confident, you'll understand how it fits into the bigger picture of UX. Becoming familiar with Figma and other tools is a great way to get started in UX, but we do have to take a few steps back because there are some other skills that you want to develop that all UX designers have that have led to successful careers. I want to talk a little bit about each of those because I believe they're most important and necessary if you want to be a designer. This includes things like understanding the process of design, how you'll ultimately develop your skills. Okay, let's start off with user research, which is an essential skill in the UX design process. It's about understanding who you're designing for and what their needs are. You'll learn to achieve this through a few different methods, such as conducting user interviews, carrying out surveys, and running usability tests. These activities aren't just about collecting data though, they are also meant to understand the user's insights and understand their experience and the challenges. This knowledge is important because it helps you address the specific problems that the users are having. You're not, going in circles trying to figure it out. You can really kind of pinpoint your solution to what you're hearing from your users. Ultimately, it makes it more impactful and desirable for your user. Websites like Nielsen Norman Group and User Testing have a ton of helpful information and best practices to help you really learn this part of UX design. User research is just the beginning. Once you understand your user's needs and wants and pain points, then you can take what you've learned and apply that into a wireframe. Think of wireframing as your first sketch or design. Wireframing is really where you get to put your ideas down and really start to think about the layout of where things are going to land on your website or your app. Wireframes sometimes sound scarier than they actually are, but they're really just all these ideas that you have, you're just putting them down somewhere. Your first wireframe is not going to be perfect. Your first wireframe probably is not going to be the solution. The whole purpose of that is just to get your ideas down and then you can start to filter out what makes sense for your user and what does not. If you've practiced in Figma already, you know what a wireframe looks like. But if you're curious about creating one, check out this video I did about how to create your first wireframe. Okay, after you've got your wireframe, the next part is prototyping. So this is really where your wireframe comes to life. So a prototype, think of it as the test model the clickable version of your design. You've added some colors to it, got your hierarchy in there, you've added your brand colors, you've got your layouts figured out. Now you're creating this prototype as the test version that you can interact with. This part is really important because you can see what this is going to look like in real life, in the wild. You can kind of get a sense of, okay, this doesn't look as good in the prototype. Maybe there's room for opportunity to still make these changes. Figma does have prototyping built in, but there's some other great tools like Protopie and Framer, which allow you to build and test your designs interactively. While you're learning all of these more technical and hard skills, it's important to learn and understand UX design principles along the way. These principles are really what elevate your design from just looking pretty and aesthetic to actually being user-centric and impactful. Not only that, these principles will stay with you the entire length of your career. So let's talk about them. At the heart of all the UX principles is empathy. Empathy is really about putting yourself inside the user's shoes and understanding what their point of view is, what their pain points are, what their challenges are, what they like, what they don't like, needs, desires, these types of things. When you're designing with empathy, you are keeping all of this that you've learned in mind to create a solution that is truly user-centric and is something that is going to be impactful and usable for them. That's really the goal. You make it usable. You want it to be enjoyable, but you also want it to be usable to what they're looking for. You are really that advocate for the user because they're telling you this information and that you want to make sure whatever you're designing comes across to solve that. That's how you know you have a successful app, website. If your users are finding value out of it, you've hit the mark. Other principles to think about are consistency and predictability. And I don't say predictability like boring. There are just certain best practices that users are expecting. You want to create something that the users are familiar with in terms of layout, perhaps, in terms of how you present the information. You don't want to confuse your user by getting too wild with it. You want it to be something that they can easily navigate, reduce any confusion, and really increase the usability of it. Also, accessibility and inclusivity are integral to UX design. This principle involves designing for a wide range of users, including those that might potentially have disabilities. We all interact with screens every single day, so you want to make sure that you are accommodating for when it comes to interfacing with digital solutions. You need to consider various needs and ensure that your design is accessible for all. Feedback and responsiveness are also really important. If the user clicks on something, you want there to be some kind of acknowledgement of what they just did. You don't want to leave them kind of guessing and unsure if what they're interacting with is actually responding and providing them any feedback. That includes confirming any actions, success messages, error states, anything like that they feel like they are engaged in a part of this process. Simplicity and clarity. This goes a long way, more than you would think. I know it's easy to kind of fall into the flashy, over-the-top look of things, but a clean, simplified, straight to the point website or app creates a clearer, more direct user experience. This is really about focusing on the essential elements of your design and really avoiding any unnecessary complications. Okay, if you're feeling like this is a lot to take in, I completely understand because this was me. When I started learning about UX, I felt the very same way. I felt very overwhelmed by how much there is to learn, from user research to wireframing to design principles and really everything else. Something that really helped me was a UX design bootcamp. These bootcamps are special programs that teach you UX design and take you through it step by step. And the best part of it is you're actually learning while you're doing it. You're actually getting to do the things that they're teaching you about. So you're not just reading and listening, you're really putting in what you're learning into practice. And also in the bootcamp, you're not alone at all. You are with mentors, you're with other students that are also in the same boat as you. So there is so much support, which is crucial when you're just starting out. An added bonus with the bootcamp was that they offered career mentorship and job training and tips and tricks once you completed your bootcamp. They really helped me network and ensure that I presented my best self when I was applying for jobs, which ultimately got me that first design job. Networking and mentorship are great, but if there's one piece of truly critical advice that I can give you guys, is to keep practicing. Learning UX is not something that you just learn once and you're set for life. You need to keep practicing those skills that you've learned as you're actively looking for jobs. You don't want to be job hunting and then not have opened Figma in 6 months. That's really not going to do you any favors as you're applying. Use this time to practice, and great ways you can do that are taking part in design challenges. There are a lot of different websites that offer a daily design challenge if that's something that you want to do to keep your skills sharp, keep practicing. You can also redesign existing interfaces. If you have a favorite app that you think you want to improve on, or if there's an added feature you'd love to see, go ahead and do that. Or you could also use this time to really develop any personal projects. If you've got a secret app in the works, why not put some why not get some designs going for that as well? Really, whatever you can do to keep practicing and keep thinking as a UX designer is really going to set you up for a job. As you're practicing, you can put all these things into your portfolio and create case studies out of them. Portfolio is a UX designer's bread and butter. It is the most important thing all UX designers need to have. As you're applying, hiring managers are looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of portfolios. So you want to make sure as you're practicing that you are putting in high quality work that's really going to help you stand out. You really want to differentiate your portfolio as much as you can. I know it's easy to, let's say, design a aesthetic looking food delivery app. There's a good chance that hiring managers have seen hundreds of those. I would take the approach and kind of spin it a little bit more and focus more on the business case. Instead of that delivery app, maybe instead focus on a feature that could potentially bring in a new revenue stream to this business. Or include a case study about how your website or app is maximized for accessibility according to WCAG standards. These are the kinds of things that are really gonna help you stand out amongst the sea of all the other portfolios. It is very difficult to stand out in the sea of other designers. It's no secret that this market is very competitive, but my advice to you guys is you have to be patient, which I know is very difficult to do, and you have to continuously put yourself out there. I know that's a hard thing to do, but there is no opportunity for you to get a yes if you've completely taken yourself out of applying. You might also want to be open to some more untraditional methods. Be open to contract positions, freelance jobs, internships. They might not be the exact full-time position that you're looking for, but you are gaining real-world experience, you're building up your portfolio, and more likely than not, you're going to have some really great references and people that have seen you be a UX designer and practice that process. Getting that experience from an actual tech company can really help you differentiate yourself. If you're on the fence about UX design, check out this playlist here where there are some guides to get started and see if UX is the right fit for you. Or if you're feeling ready, click the link down in the description to find out more about UX bootcamps and how to get started.